Hi friends, welcome to today's video. My name is Stephanie if you're new here, and today we are going to be doing a swatch and review of the ILNP Fall Harvest collection that is launching today. So I'm so excited to get into these polishes because they are 6 super sparkly shades, alliteration, we love that, that are inspired by the bold colors of falling leaves and cozy knit sweaters and the joyful spirit of fall festivities. So let's get into the swatches. The first shade is Dakota, which has a deep berry base with glimmering purple and pink sparkles. They also note that there's a pink shimmer in here, which I guess I can see, but it's definitely hard to distinguish since the pink and purple microflakies are super intense. So this polish has a bit of a jelly base, but I did a slightly thicker coat, so I ended up getting pretty good coverage on the first coat. I feel like you could barely see any nail line, but in certain lightings you could see some patchiness. The flakies glimmer so much in this one too. I was just so blown away by how this looks on the nail. It just glows so much. So I ended up getting full coverage in 2 coats, and I don't think you would need a third since the base is so dark, but it could depend on your application if you prefer thinner coats or if you have longer nails, but this one's my favorite. Next up is Penny, which is a vibrant red jelly base packed with gold microflakies. I think you can kind of see in the corners of the bottle there's a flash of green, so I think these are somewhat multi-chrome, but I didn't really get to pick that up in my swatches since I have more of a direct light source, but it's really cool and just very multi-dimensional. So I didn't do the best application on this first coat, so I did have a few more noticeable bald spots, but they were completely covered up with the second coat. And this one is just another gorgeous glimmering shade. It is just so fiery. Like, again, I just think these flakies in this collection glow so much. And yeah, the formula was just super smooth, easy to work with. I have no complaints. This one is amazing. So the next shade is Autumn, which has a kind of blackened brown base that's packed with what looks like gold, orange, and red flakies. It's just very warm. So when I first started applying this one, I thought it was a little bit sheer, but it ended up building up really nicely on the first coat. I think these are really easy to work with. Like, they don't dry down too fast, so you can go over the same spot a couple times to sort of even out the coverage, but they're not super thin, so they don't run or pool to the sides of your nails, if that makes sense. So if you end up working a little bit slower or just grab too much of the brush, I think these are very forgiving. So this shade is a surprise favorite for me. It's absolutely stunning and totally encapsulates the beauty of the season. Next up we have Pumpkin Patch, which features a warm and vivid burnt orange base packed with gold shimmer and microflakies. So I wanted to put this one next to Autumn because I thought these were pretty similar at first, especially due to that gold shimmer, but they definitely have very different base colors. So this one pretty much had the same formula as the other polishes in this collection, where it had great even coverage on the first coat, but since it has a bit of a lighter base color, you could still see through to my nail line. And I actually think you could still make out my nail line after 2 coats, but I found the shimmer was super eye-catching and I guess distracting enough that it didn't really bother me. But looking back, I think maybe I should have done a 3rd coat. I know these are kind of sheer and, you know, jelly-ish and whatever, but I kind of like the full coverage effect a little more on these. So the next shade is Hayride, which is more of a yellowy orange base with those same sparkling gold microflakies. And no, I didn't repeat the bottle shot clips. This one looks super similar to Pumpkin Patch, which I have on the left here, especially under this lighting, but Hayride is less orange. Still very similar though. I also wanted to show Autumn next to these since these three gave me very similar vibes when I first opened up the package, but I think you can tell Autumn is more on the brown, coppery side. So back to Hayride, I found the formula was very similar to Pumpkin Patch, where my nail line was still pretty visible on the first coat, which I was totally expecting since the base color is a little bit lighter. Now, I don't know if I ended up doing a thicker second coat, but I found that I couldn't see my nail line as much as I was expecting. Like this one, I was pretty convinced I would need 3 coats for sure, but I just kept it at 2. So this one could be a 3-coater depending on your application and of course your nail length, but yeah, this one is super, super gorgeous, even though it is very similar to the last one. I'll be showing comparisons at the end of the video, don't worry. And the last shade in the collection is Olive Grove, which is described as a rustic army green reminiscent of leaves that have yet to change. So this one is, of course, also packed with that same gold shimmer. And I think this one has a bit more of an olive green base rather than an army green. Like it has a little bit too much yellow. At least for my preferences, because you know I'm not really the biggest fan of yellow leaning greens, but I know that this is such a quintessential shade of green for fall, and the gold shimmer really brings it over the top, so I actually kind of enjoyed this one. But yeah, this one had that same great formula, and since the base color is a little bit deeper, I got it perfectly opaque on my nails in just 2 coats. Now onto the comparisons. I'm starting with Poppy and comparing it to Con Artist from Mooncat's Surrealism collection, which I reviewed a few months ago. So these definitely give off the same vibe in the bottle when it comes to a bright jelly red base with a gold shimmer, but they're actually nothing alike on the nail. The Mooncat is almost a pinkish red with a finer gold shimmer, and it's also very, very sheer. It has 3 coats here. Next, I'm sharing Pumpkin Patch next to Hayride on the right, so you can actually see the differences on the nail, but I'm also comparing to Good as Gold from the previous Golden Hour collection, which I honestly thought was going to be way more similar. I still think these have that same gold shimmer, but on the nail, you can see they have different base colors, especially comparing Pumpkin Patch on the far left there with Hayride in the middle and then Good as Gold on the right. So they're not dupes, but pretty similar, especially to be in the same collection. And lastly, for Olive Grove, I'm comparing it to Emerald from Olive F Polish, which I also recently reviewed. So it's the only other sparkly olive green shade that I have, and the base colors might look really similar in certain angles or lighting, but they're definitely not dupes since Emerald is actually a little bit lighter and maybe even a little bit dustier. It's definitely not as dark as Olive Grove, and it obviously does not have that stunning gold shimmer, but I'm interested to know which one you like more. So that wraps up my swatch and review and comparisons for the ILNP Harvest collection. I would love to know what you all think of this collection because I'm actually really loving it. Even though I absolutely love cream formulas, my love for shimmers really comes out in the fall. The gold shimmers in these polishes specifically just have a beautiful glow, and I think these shades are just super cozy. It reminds me of being right next to a fireplace with a warm spiced drink. My only complaint for this collection is just how similar Pumpkin Patch and Hayride are. I personally don't think they really needed both in the collection. I know that they are different, especially seeing them on the nail, but they're just a little too similar for me at least. And I keep going back and forth between which one I like more. So I'd love to hear what you all think about this. Leave any and all thoughts down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!